Good evening. This is Lower Makefield Township's Board of Supervisors meeting is going to start at 7:30, but we have interviews for boards and commissions first. Our first interview is with Ms. Abby Yates for the Disability Advisory Board. I'll allow, I guess I would say Supervisor McCartney, do you want to ask questions first?
How you doing? Thanks for coming out. So what has you interested in the Disability Advisory Board?
So I have a background in policy. I have my master's degree from University of Pennsylvania in social policy, where I focused on mental health and disability policy. And then I have 2 children with multiple disabilities, and we moved into the township, I guess, a year and a half ago now. And with all the things that are happening with the changes in parks and McClansfield and 5 Mile Nature Center, I think it's important to be involved to make sure that they have a voice and they can appreciate all the things our township has to offer.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mr. Grenier?
That was a perfect response. I think we need folks, especially, I think children need a voice, especially disabled children, when it comes to this. And I can't, I think your response was perfect. Including, and you know where I'm going with this one, a distinguished University of Pennsylvania graduate at the table. Got to respect that. So thank you. I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you for coming out and volunteering.
Supervisor Blundy?
I don't have anything to ask you, but I do want to echo when we think about volunteers coming forward. I mean, obviously we're appreciative because that's what makes our township better. But I love that you've already said, you know, I want to bring my passion to make the community better, because that's what the committees are all about. And so thank you for raising your hand and helping to make Lower Makefield that much stronger.
I don't have any questions, but thank you very much for the position.
Yeah, more just a general comment. First, a big thank you. We needed folks in this area for a while. And I will tell you that when you start to look at disability policy, you don't go back, meaning you look at accessibility in an entirely different way. And I worked on accessibility in a lot of different ways in my work environment in the past. But in this role, there's a great opportunity, as you mentioned, with parks, but also in reviewing all of the land development to make sure that, especially all the commercial development, that is accessible. So we oftentimes, and this is where I would say there are members of the board who are better at helping uncover things that are not as accessible. And that's a skill, hopefully, you'll pick up on when you look at some of the plans. But more importantly, it's to help elevate that. And there's a whole series of sort of unintended circumstances where we don't think about accessibility and disability rights. And that's another area where we need effective advocacy. So I'm very excited, despite the fact that you went to the University of Pennsylvania, which people tell me is an accredited institution, and I believe them.
But did you go to Princeton?
Huh? What'd you say?
I said, did you go to Princeton?
Oh, no. No, that's worse. I tell my kids they could go to any school except the ones that rejected me. So hence my disdain for the University of Pennsylvania. And they could have gone to Georgetown. I didn't apply there. So we very much thank you. And that's part of like our process here, is just to kind of help make sure you have a good understanding what's involved. The group there, that's Lisa, who's been the longtime chair, has been a tremendous advocate. And I think you'll appreciate working with the group there. And again, as always, anything related, you can always call us. And I don't know, how young are your children?
7 and 10.
Okay, so you're early in the process.
Yeah.
And are you getting all the support that you need from the school board or pardon me, school district?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we know those people.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, obviously didn't see as many things even having the background in policy as I do now. Like we have a wheelchair van and we have wheelchairs, and it's just like crazy the amount of things that you see that you didn't before. So,
Yeah, and it really opened your eyes in ways you'd never thought of. And I think today it's Neurodiversity Month.
Yes.
That gets you thinking as well, right? About how people process stuff. And I always think most of your great entrepreneurs, by the way, are neurodiverse. They either have dyslexia, and while people think of that as a challenge, when you see things differently, you come up with different ideas. And that's, it's like amazing. Charles Schwab, for example, is dyslexic and a great entrepreneur, and I can list others. I think I'm not allowed to say people I know, but in any event, thank you so much. The way this typically works is there's a section on the agenda later, so you're welcome to go home and watch it on TV if you want, or YouTube.
I won't stick my husband with bedtime entirely.
Yeah. On the other hand, you could claim it was a long meeting. You had to stay the whole time. And they don't pan to the audience, except all this is being taped and he would tell. Do you have any questions of us before we let you?
I think so. I just appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thanks for replying.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Jennifer is en route. Good evening and welcome to the April 3rd Board of Supervisors meeting. We're going to begin with a call to order and then a pledge of allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with roll call. Supervisor Blundy,
Here.
Supervisor Ross,
Here.
Supervisor Grenier,
Here.
Supervisor McCartney.
Present.
Look at you, present. And I'm the chair, John Lewis. I am present as well.
2 out of
We're going to begin with community announcements. Just a reminder, anytime if you have a community announcement, you can reach out to us at admin@lmt.org to request a special announcement. The Yardley Farmers Market will be held at Lower Makefield Township Community Center, 1550 Oxford Valley Road, from 10 a.m. to 12 the first and third Saturdays through April 2024. So we're down to 2 last times we can go to the community center for the farmers market. And to learn more, you can visit the Yardley Farmers Market webpage. Parks and Recreation is hiring for all seasonal summer positions, including pool, summer camp, and field maintenance. To apply, visit www.lmt.org. And if your child is coming back for spring break and doesn't have a summer job, encourage them to apply because definitely want folks. Registration for the pool at LMT. You don't want to miss that. We still have a few open slots yet. It's very popular this year. Visit lmt.org. Item E, LMT is hosting a flood insurance roundtable session with a representative from PEMA, that's the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, on Wednesday, April 17th from 5 to 7 p.m. At the Township Building, 1100 Edgewood Road. The Lower Makefield Township Environmental Advisory Council is hosting another styrofoam and recycling event at the Township Building. So if you've got styrofoam, now's the chance to get rid of it safely at the Township Building, 1100 Edgewood Drive. G, the Birthday Lawn Bandits are presenting the 3rd annual Strolling for Service Dogs fundraiser on Saturday, April 20th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Garden of Reflection. This is 1950 Woodside Road. For more information, you can go to the Strolling for Service Dogs fundraiser page at runsignup.org. As somebody who has been to the first 2, I will tell you it's a tremendous event. You're going to want to bring your dog. There's an opportunity for you to get dog treats. You pick up all kinds of really great stuff for your dog, and you meet other dog owners, and there's a wonderful time. The Lower Makefield Township Environmental Advisory Council is sponsoring a free bird town falconry class at Memorial Park. So if you're into falconry or want to learn, you can do that at 1950 Woodside Work on Saturday, April 20th at 3 p.m. For more information, visit our website at lmt.org. The Friends of 5 Mile Woods will be hosting an open house and ribbon cutting for the new ADA accessible boardwalk project from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday, April 21st, 2024. I have one announcement that's not on the agenda, but I desperately want to make this because you're going to enjoy this to know that we are actually hosting AARP safe driver classes at the community center. And you're saying, I didn't know that. How can I sign up? Right? No, I qualify now.
Oh, do you? I was me, but yeah, that's
Okay. So the benefit of this course, it's 2 4-hour segments of safe driving courses. It's Monday, April 16th at noon. You can sign up using Community Pass, I believe. And the benefit of the course is once you complete it, you can be eligible for a safe driver discount from your auto insurer. And importantly, not just because all of us age, which, some of us more than others, but it's important to keep your driving skills fresh. This is an ideal way to keep them fresh. The teacher will do a tremendous job. I know that because he happens to be Supervisor Blundy and I's neighbor. And so we know he's going to do a wonderful job. Mr. Solani, he's a tremendous instructor. You want to be there for this class. If you've taken one driver's class in your life, it was probably when you were 16 in high school and you've forgotten a lot of stuff. You don't know how to drive in circles. You're worried about lights. That'll all get resolved when you take this class. And I think that covers all of the announcements. Any others?
Hey, John, if I could just bring us back to a second for the work at 5 Mile Woods. If you haven't had a chance to come out and help, we're looking for more volunteers this Saturday. There's something for everyone. If you're handy, please bring your own drill because there's work that can be done. And if you're just somebody who's like me, can help carry wood to the back part of the deck, that would be wonderful. But there's opportunities to support 5 Mile Woods in lots of different ways. You can make a donation to the Friends of 5 Mile Woods to help keep the deck that we're making and the walkway that we're making up, as well as an opportunity to plant trees or build bird boxes. So please, there's so many ways to get involved.
Sure.
Speaking of ageless,
Mhm.
and I don't know that he's AARP eligible yet, but I just want to say happy birthday to Supervisor
yeah.
McCartney next, maybe next year.
Thank you very much. I am on my way.
You're on your way. Before we enter on to number 5, public comment on non-agenda items, our interviewee is here, Ms. Stark. You want to come on up? This will be a short interview. This, Ms. Stark is applying to be part of, both should work, yeah, to be a part of our Patterson Park Implementation Committee. And I believe you served as well in the ad hoc committee, right?
Is this on? Oh, okay. I apologize for being late.
You're good.
I thought it sounded like it was on. Yeah, I apologize for being late. SEPTA and the weather, ooh.
So with that, we're very familiar with his Supervisor McCartney. Do you have any questions?
I don't at this point. I think that, your record when you were on the ad hoc speaks for itself. So thank you again for volunteering for this portion of it.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Grenier?
We've worked together on Harb in years past. Since last, I think we've seen each other. I think you switched jobs to a different
You did.
totally different group, which is really interesting. But just for folks watching at home, your background in historic preservation, historic architecture, I think will be very obviously useful to this. And you've served on the Harb and done other things for the township. So we thank you for your service and look forward to hopefully having you back.
Thank you.
Supervisor Blendy?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Supervisor Ross?
I have nothing either. Thank you for volunteering.
Somebody's got to ask her a tough question. She battled SEPTA to get here. Now, I want to say, Ms. Stark, thank you so much for applying. We do very much appreciate your unique skill set. That'll be particularly helpful for us. And we appreciate your willingness to step in and be a part of the resurrection of the Patterson Farm area. So thank you so much. The way this works, and you know this because you're a previous contestant, is that later in the meeting, we'll have you'll be voted on at that time. So you don't have to stay the entire meeting, although I'm told this one's going to be fun. And then you'll find out later. So, but thank you so much for applying and serving the township.
Thank you all very much.
With that, we're going to move on to agenda item 5. Now, this is public comment on non-agenda items. So if you see something on the agenda and you're aching to talk about it, wait till that item is called. So, but if there's something that's not on the agenda that you have public comment on that you're concerned about, this is your chance to come up to the dais or up to the podium, pardon me, and to speak. Is there anyone in the audience? Is there anyone on the phone? No. Okay. Excellent. Moving on to the consent agenda items. As we've talked about previously, we batch up non-controversial items into one agenda item so we don't have to read them off and vote on them separately. At this time, is there concerns with any of the items that are listed on the consent agenda by any of the members? Any folks in the audience who have a concern about any of the items on the consent agenda? No, and no one on the call as well. With that, I entertain a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the consent agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. That's 5-0. And now, agenda item 7, the moment I think we've all been waiting for, or at least one of us, or most of the audience has, is recognition for Dave Malinowski for 23 years of service to our Parks and Rec board and to the community generally. I don't think it was all in Parks and Rec. He's been at this for a long time. Zoning. Wow. So we actually have a proclamation for you, and we'd like to present that to you, if that's okay, if you want to come on up.
Yep, there you are.
We put together a special plaque for you recognizing 23 years of service with the Zoning Hearing Board and the Parks and Recreation Board. You should get all this. Oh, yeah. Come on down. Thank you. Yes. Somebody to write about purpose. Yes, improving service, one of my things. We're bringing people together. The love and purpose. I'm just keeping. Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh, we're in the witness protection program also. Yes, agree.
Thank you, Dave.
No. Again, thank you to Mr. Malinowski and his family, because one of the hard parts of service is sometimes you got to be away from your family. And 23 years of zoning hearing board and Parks and Rec, that's quite an impressive feat. So we thank him. We're moving on to agenda item 8, the engineer's report.
Thank you, Chairman Lewis, fellow supervisors. Two main items to highlight tonight, the first of which is a recommendation for award this year's Township Road Program. The bids were received, they were opened on March 27th. This year's road program consists of milling and overlay several roadways throughout the township that are in need of resurfacing. The base bid roads also include improving the curb ramps at the corners to meet current ADA standards. The base bid also had 3 alternate bids that were considered. So just a reminder of the roads that were included here. The base bid roads were the Yardley Hunt neighborhood, the Quarry Commons neighborhood. Was considered as an alternate paving of Susan Circle is alternate number 1. Alternate number 2, the roadways are the ones in the Penn Valley Terrace neighborhood. And alternate number 3 was consideration for the pathway on Oxford Valley Road between Heacock and Dobry. In discussions with the township staff, when we analyzed the bids, 2 main objectives. One was to look at how much we could put together for a contract within the township's approved budget. And also alternate 1 and 3 were included to receive the pricing and also just to kind of see the feasibility for those this year. Unfortunately, through the discussions, both of those have other factors that at this time we would recommend not awarding those alternates, the 1 and the 3. So with that, the bids were reviewed. The low bidder met the township's RCO requirements. Both the 2 low bidders did. Combining the base bid with alternate number 2 results in the recommendation for approving the contract to James D. Marcy Incorporated. The budget for this year is $1,094,862. The combined base bid and alternate 2 that's recommended is a total of $1,062,667.80. So under that budget total, and typically the road program does have some conservative estimates with some base repair items and things like that. So, you know, we're hopeful and would expect that to ideally be a little less than that as well when it's all completed. So with that, I'd recommend a motion to approve the contract for the base bid and alternate 2. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
With that, I think it'd be appropriate to recognize the township manager and or the solicitor to discuss if there's needed additional information on alternates 1 and 3. Or probably, yeah.
Yeah, we're happy to address any questions the board may have relative to alternates 1 and 3. But Isaac, do you have you had a visual as well that you were going to show in terms of the?
There were some slides just to show a visual where the roads that were recommended for approval are. If that can be brought up, we appreciate it. Might have some difficulty coming up.
There we go.
There. So that does show the base bid for Clark Drive, Bennington Road, Patriot Drive, Colony Way, and Henry Drive. The next slide shows the Quarry Commons neighborhood. Again, the base bid are not only the road resurfacing, but also the ADA curb ramp improvements. The final slide, and this is that alternate bid number 2, the Penn Valley Terrace neighborhood. So I don't have shown alternate 1 and alternate 3. We had that in the request for authorization. Just to clarify again, alternate 1 was Susan Circle. That has a few factors with just some history of litigation and you know, moving that development items to have that pavement completed. And then alternate 3 is the pathway along Oxford Valley. The factors that really led to that not being recommended at this time was just some lack of clarity on the ownership of the maintenance and of that pathway for that stretch. So we didn't want to put the township in a bad position with having that awarded and then having something come up that would alter the scope there.
Isaac, I don't know if just for the board's information, you know, there was some back and forth as well in terms of contract language and the ability to sort of select any combination of alternates. If you just want to, just for the record, sort of articulate what is permitted from a contractual standpoint based on how the bid was structured.
Absolutely. What we do, and it really gives the township the most flexibility to do the most work it can in the contract. It states that for the base bid and then the alternates, any combination of the alternates could be awarded. The base bid itself could be awarded alone as well. But it does give the township the ability and the right to combine what it can, and the low bid of that combination would be the recommendation for award. So in some instances, in this one, because some of the prices were pretty close to each other, the low bid for the base bid, when you combine it with alternate number 2, actually was not the lowest price combined. It went to the second lowest bidder from that base bid category. So it just allows the township to package up the contract the best it can and get the best price through the bidding process there.
Is there any supervisor questions?
Relative to the contractors, I know, you know, we have a history with Morrissey. Can you give us I'll make sure I'm near the microphone before I get yelled at. Do we have any history with this specific contractor? Any issues with delivery of road programs, anything like that you have any concerns about?
We don't. We've worked a whole lot with Morrissey in this area. They're you know, a common bidder on these types of projects. They do a lot of work. We've had experience that's been very good working relationship with them as the contractor. So we look to have that continue with this contract.
Okay, appreciate that.
Any information regarding scheduling that you can share at this point or not?
I know when it was getting put together, the idea was to have, disturbing the road, the milling and overlay process to start after the school year would end. So that's still the idea. If that, needs to be adjusted at all, we'll coordinate with staff. So the process following, if it's awarded tonight, we'll have the contracts prepared. Pre-construction meeting would be scheduled maybe in a couple weeks, and then determine a schedule of when they would actually start as it gets to the into the summer.
And follow up, how long would that take? How
Yeah.
long do you think would?
For everything. I know just from experience with working with Morrissey, they try to really go through it, especially the paving. The longer item would be the concrete ramps, and they would be done before those roads would be paved. So that could start probably first in those areas. The idea being that they would be finished all those items before the next year school year starts, and any kind of punch list stuff get wrapped up in the fall and be done all together as the weather gets colder again.
I was gonna say, of the bidders, I believe 4 of the 5 have won township business in the past. So any one of them would have been, all 5 met your criteria then for responsible bidders and would have done good work?
We do look at the first, or I say the lowest 3.
Mhm.
I realizing that, like you said, 4 out of the 5 have done work in the past, so the assumption is they would still meet all the criteria. We look at all the ones from that low bidder for the base bid, and then move into Morrissey as that second one with the combination of the alternate, and just ensuring that they meet all the responsible contractor items that are required for the township.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I recall that vendor, the recommended vendor is winning like 3 or 4 in a row in like, I don't know, 2015 timeframe. They won, then they didn't win, then they start, so it's good to see that we have diversity, or different people are winning at different times for best bid.
Yeah, it's a great point. They seem to kind of ebb and flow, these asphalt companies. So
Yeah.
they do all seem to do very good work, and we're happy with the recommendation that we have from the bids we received.
Any other questions? Any comment, public comment? Anybody on the phone? Okay, that's a good sign. Typically, we're always concerned somebody's gonna say that we didn't get to their road or something like that, so that's good. With that, I'll take a motion or a big call the question. All those in favor of awarding the 2024 road program to James Morrissey, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that'd be 5-0. And then and general project updates?
Yes, our engineering report for this meeting is attached. Just to highlight a few items this evening. I mean, with the weather this week, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some stormwater and water related work that the township has been doing. The MS4 pollutant reduction plan that's part of our permitting with DEP looks at overall the stormwater projects, and that's obviously been a top discussion this past year. To continue that program, working with township staff and coordinating with RES. It's been the last week or two, we've had some meetings to look at which stormwater projects would be best packaged together to keep that momentum going for what would be required over the next couple of years for stormwater improvements. So that is ongoing, but we'll have some updates with that, I'm sure, as we get into the spring, when a few of the grants that are associated with the stormwater projects are coming up. They usually are due in the May timeframe. That would really assist with funding those types of projects. At Highland Drive, the drainage project with coordinating with the utilities, the coordination with with PA American Water has gone very well, pretty much wrapped up with that. The other utility that's under the culvert there is Pico Gas, and there's also some Verizon relocation with the lines they have there. So with that, we're looking to have that permitting get into DEP, and the timeline that we're aiming for really with completing that permitting process hasn't changed since last meeting. We're looking at hopefully by the end of June, going, beginning of July. With that done, it would go right into that bidding phase. So that's the goal with having that move into where we can start getting closer to construction. I did want to highlight over at Woodside Road with the pedestrian multi-use trail, the coordination with Pico Electric there is also with Verizon. They both own the poles and the equipment on it. They are very close to having those new poles delivered. Verizon drops off the poles, Pico digs the hole, somebody puts it in the hole. It's a good collaborative effort there of utilities. Part of that will be tree trimming within the township right away there. So just wanted to mention that for the board and for the public, some of the things that would be upcoming that to expect as part of that pole relocation that will be done there. Following when that's done, as we've been aiming for, would be the spring when they can redo some of those trail portions that need to be straightened out and repaved. And then I did want to also mention just on the development side, the Cricket Preserve, the Wegmans obviously is open. If you've been there, I think a lot of people have as well. It seems pretty busy. There are other parts of that site that are still moving along, some other restaurants and those types of things that are coming shortly. So that work is still progressing well. And it's also inspected regularly to make sure that the entry exit with Wegman and all the folks there, isn't disrupted and it's safe to go in and out. So that site's coming along fairly well for those that have been there recently. Last thing to mention, going back a little bit for that Woodside Road Trail, the grant that has been awarded to that project, we're working with the grant agency and also with staff to have those releases of the grant funding provided to the township. So that process is underway, and we'll look to update when those payments are, provided to the township to offset those costs so far. With that, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
So I know Supervisor, Blondie, did you have additional questions related to Woodside? And I know some of the poles were delivered, right?
Yeah, a lot of poles out there, so I don't know if I think they're all there. I didn't count them, but presumably that work can start. No, but the other question I have is really, I think for the manager, just an update on the bottom of Woodside Road. I don't know how to refer to it ever eloquently. So if you could update on what I'm talking about, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Madam Supervisor. So what you're referring to is near the intersection of Woodside Road and Taylorsville Road, as had previously been mentioned and brought up. There is what appears to be roadway sort of sloughing that's occurring as you're going down the grade heading towards Taylorsville Road. So if you recall, that work was initially completed by the Joint Toll Bridge Commission as part of the work that was done in the township in that area in terms of the interchange, and then also improvements to the bridge, to the toll bridge. So we've been in contact with the Joint Toll Bridge Commission. Obviously, have made them aware of the concern relative to the condition of the roadway. They intend to mill and repave approximately 950 feet of the eastbound lanes of Woodside Road coming down the hill towards Taylorsville. The existing surface there is of a certain thickness. They're proposing to actually bolster sort of the structural integrity of that roadway and doing 2.5 inches of paving with a more rut-resistant mix. And so they are in the process of obtaining pricing through their job order contracting process and are looking to potentially undertake the work in June, and have indicated that they will provide additional information as they go through their contracting process and there's more definitive construction schedule. So I believe, Supervisor Blundy was concerned about just coordination of the other work that's happening on Woodside. But that is where we're at this point. I don't know if you have any concerns or at this point, based on the information that we have.
As far as the work overlapping, we don't. The utility work should be, I would say, pretty close to completion when June would come up for that work. And then kind of a restart would be had with the contractor for any work on the trail itself. And that could be coordinated with the schedule that the Toll Bridge Commission has for the roadway. And the trail does keep them off the shoulder pretty substantially as well, so we don't see a conflict.
And any associated road closure that would be coordinated with the police department, other emergency service providers, with the Public Works Department. And again, the intent would be to, just like we're trying to stay outside of the school season, would be to complete that work in the summer. But as we get a schedule that's more concrete, we'll make sure to communicate that to all interested parties. You're welcome.
Sure.
Yeah. And this might be for you, Isaac, or it might be for our manager. One of our residents has pointed out to us that one of the basins the township owns, just a hair under 2 acres at the corner of Quarry Road and Lindenhurst Road. Seems to be a naturalized basin, and there's a lot of calorie pears growing in there, which is flowering invasive. It's a noxious weed per Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. I'm wondering if, as part of the PRP or the MS4, if we've looked at some of our basins to see if how extensive that might be. They're very easy to identify at this point, at this time of year, because they're flowering with bright white flowers. But I'm just curious how extensive that might be, and if there's any chance that we could remove some of those from basins to prevent spread.
We can definitely take a look into where that's popping up. The PRP, just to kind of clarify a little bit for the public as well, the PRP really focuses on those. We have a lot of listed basin retrofits. So part of that is really a full assessment of what the existing is, what it could be improved upon for stormwater management. Also part of the MS4 is a review of the BMPs, the stormwater features in the township, which would include assessment of how the basins are doing that maybe have been naturalized already or have had work done in the past. So that's definitely something we can make a part of our MS4 kind of township review as it would be on an annual report basis, to make sure if there's invasive species that it's taken care of.
Thank you.
As long as we're going to talk about the pears, right? I mean, because they are everywhere, including right out here on Edgewood Road. When I had discussed it in the past, I understand they're not quite so easy to get rid of, that simply cutting them down is not sufficient because of their root structure, and I will defer to anybody to go deeper than that. Happy to get rid of them wherever they are, but I think we should start here.
Yeah,
And I think that, we should either, come up with something else to plant there right away and get rid of them here if they're such a noxious species.
not to get too deep into it, but a similar effect might be a native cherry. They've cherry blossoms might be they're both same family.
Not native though, I don't,
There are native cherries.
not on our list. Our list is very, as you know, maybe we want to fix that.
We could do a native dogwood that flowers very similarly too. So, but in terms of removing them, they're kind of messy trees. So you're probably looking at yanking the stumps. You're not just cutting them at the base and grinding them. You're yanking the stumps out, and then planting something else. You may want to wait till at this point, you may want to wait till the fall to plant anything. If you do plant them, but it's just something to consider.
That's good.
2 quick questions for you. One on Prickett Preserve. So I know some of the stuff's opening. Has there been action taken on the historic preservation of the barn house there? Has that started construction at all?
I'm not aware of any new update on that
Okay.
at the moment. Yeah.
Because we just want to make sure that gets moved along as well, and that's not held up. The other question I had was on the 2022 road program. I know there was a minor resurf, for lack of a better term, small, was it a patching or additional
Some seal coating.
seal coating? That's on, when is that scheduled for?
They've been waiting for the temperatures to
Yep.
warm up and stabilize.
Yeah,
Um,
and not rain.
And full disclosure, the 2022 road program was James D. Morrissey. So
Mhm.
that is something we'll definitely remind them of, especially with the award tonight, that is, still on that list to be closed before any new contract would be started.
And I think on the 2022 road program, we did a lot more roads at one time. And that might be why it was challenging to get everything done at the same time. That was the year, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a pretty long list to get through all of them within the desired timeframe.
And there's some good and some challenges we learned from that process. So it's good to kind of take some of that back. Any other questions? Any public comment? Please introduce yourself and whether you're a resident of Lower Makefield.
I like the new podium. April Boyd Clower, resident of Lower Makefield Township. Isaac, I know you've told us before and it's slipping my mind. So with the permitting process potentially coming through end of July, August, what's the bidding timeframe? I think you've told us and I just don't remember, sorry.
Bidding, when we get it up on, it's called Pen Bid, like the procurement software. That's usually about a month and a half from when it goes up to bid to when we're before the board with a recommendation.
Okay, and then,
So we're aiming for hopefully getting that permitting process done by June.
okay.
And then it would follow that. So,
Gotcha.
so
we got a few
hopeful
months
with
for
the
hurricane season?
DEP, interaction, but with this whole process, that's one of the reasons why we've had constant back and forth with DEP, talking about what we're proposing, what they're looking for. So
All the
hopefully
work up front makes sense.
it's as quick as the DEP can move, hopefully, and we'll be able to then move to bidding after that.
All right, thank you. That was all. Thank you.
Anyone on the line? Okay. No, okay. Moving on to agenda item 9, the manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the first item for you is an item that has been discussed a number of times at prior meetings. It is an ordinance to amend the definition of open space in both the subdivision, land development and zoning ordinances. The board had initially tabled the matter and then there was an action to authorize its advertisement. It has been duly advertised and at this point is ready for the board's consideration.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance to amend the definition of the term open space in the subdivision land development and zoning ordinances.
Second.
With that, is there any board comment on the proposed ordinance? Is there any public comment? And no one's on the line, right? All right. We need to figure a way where you can just like message me that no one's on.
Yeah, we're looking at installing a light of some sort so that there's clarity there.
Yeah.
But,
With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion as stated, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay, the next one relates to back at the intersection of Taylorsville Road and Woodside Road. This is the essentially continuation of the project that was referenced by Isaac in his prior report. As the board is aware, we requested proposals from design and engineering firms for this work. We received 3 responses to our RFP. The low-cost response was actually the township engineer, Remington Vernick Engineering, at a cost not to exceed $54,000. Again, this is a budgeted project and item. We would recommend award to RVE.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any board comment?
Question to Township, the other two bidders, were they, my recollection is their prices were nearly identical to each other, but higher than RVs.
That is correct. Yes. I don't have it in front of me at this point, but generally, 30 to $35,000 more than RV. Did speak with Isaac about his sort of confidence in getting this done, and he has committed to us that they are confident in doing this at this price, and that they have the internal capacity and the folks that are assigned this to get it done. So I don't know if you have any comment on that.
I'll just reiterate, the pricing and the scope that we have included. I think our familiarity with the intersection, the relationship we have with both the Joint Toll Bridge Commission, also PennDOT, kind of led to what we proposed with the RFP. So we're pleased to hear that we're recommended for it, and happy to answer any questions, but looking forward to this connection as we realize it's been a little bit coming. So looking forward to getting that process moving to get that connection completed.
If I could ask, could you describe to us a little bit, as one of the nice things about having a township engineer is that, you are the QA QC, or the eyes that look over the shoulder of who, I don't know if that's me making that noise or not, sorry. To make sure that things go right when another engineer is doing a design. So can you describe when RVE as our township engineer is awarded projects like this, there's always the concern that QA QC, that third set of eyes, second set of eyes, whatever it may be, might be lost. So can you describe to us what your QA QC procedures will be to make sure we don't lose that?
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. There'll be a couple of tiers of that, I would say, for this project, because it is a PennDOT intersection. There's a highway occupancy permitting that has to be completed. That is all submitted to PennDOT. So in addition to our internal QA/QC process, which we always vet the plans and the timing of the signals, the calculations, all that is reviewed by not only our team led by myself in our Bucks office, but also our transportation and traffic group. So as much as the project team is working on the calculations of design, we do have a third-party QA/QC internally that gets fresh eyes on the project and has that expertise in our traffic group that can, obviously we can make sure it's as full and ready as possible to submit to PennDOT. When you have it submitted to PennDOT, they have their rounds of reviews, their traffic guys, their intersection roadway guys, their ADA group. So they'll review it top to bottom as well, provide any comments. And like I mentioned, our relationship with them, we've worked with them very well in the past. We'll get those approvals. So then both the state, also the Joint Toll Bridge Commission, since it connects to their facility on the other side, as well as our group, will be on the same page to have it ready for construction.
Or Township Manager, do we need to engage SAFE at all on this one?
Yeah, we can also have SAFE take a look as well. That would not be a problem. So we could do that. Yep.
I just don't want to lose the QA/QC process. That's the biggest thing.
Yep. Understood.
May I?
Sure.
I don't know if it's an appropriate question, but what the heck? When you say the other two bidders were higher by about $34,000 because they came in around the same amount, was there something in their proposal that's not in the RVE proposal, or can you account for that difference?
There was nothing apparent in terms of the difference of approach. And again, we did take the additional time to talk to RV specifically about their approach on this, to make sure that there were not those distinctions between the work that was being done by the other respondents and the work that RV was proposing. And again, as I said, RV said that they are confident with the price, and I was very clear with Isaac that we're going to hold you to that price if you're articulating that you're able to do it at this price. And so there was nothing apparent in terms of review based on the review of the proposals and then even further conversation beyond that.
Thank you.
Any other supervisor comment? Any public comment? Anyone on the phone? Good evening, caller. Okay. I'm still working on the, getting callers in part. Yep. Okay. So at this point, do we think that the car will be back? Okay. I would have never made it as a talk radio host because I can't handle the call management. But they usually have, there's always somebody who handles the calls and works them in there. It was right. Yeah.
New producer.
Yeah. So anyway, at this time, we'll take we'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. Agenda item 9C.
Yes. So the next item for the board's consideration is Resolution 2410, authorizing the submission of a Pennsylvania Department of Community Economic Development Strategic Management Planning Program grant in the amount, the grant request would be in the amount of $35,950. As the board is aware, this was an item that was discussed during the 2024 budget process, in which this program is available through DCD in order to get external financial support to engage a consultant or an expert to do and assist with both multi-year financial planning as well as doing an objective operational review of the township's operations and in the various functional areas that the township operates. So at this point, we have issued a request for proposals, received, I believe it was 5 responses in total, have conducted interviews of those respondents. However, we are sort of bifurcating the process because the idea was that participation in the program would be contingent upon receipt of this external state funding. And so in order to submit an application, there's a resolution that needs to be passed by the Board of Supervisors to authorize that. The number in the application was based on narrowing the field down to top 2 at this point. So what we've done is we've taken the higher of the top two prices. And again, it's a 50-50 match from a program standpoint. So our recommendation would be to authorize execution of the resolution or enactment of the resolution or adoption of the resolution, allow us to proceed through the application process, see if we're awarded funding, and that if we're successful in that effort, then we would come back with a recommendation related to one of the top two consultants based on the proposals. Both consultants have indicated that there's no issue in terms of timing. They understand that this is contingent upon the receipt of external funding. So we're not expecting any adjustment of price or anything of that nature, but this would position us to be able to submit an application.
With that, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 24-10, authorizing the submission of a PA DCED Strategic Management Planning Program grant.
Second.
Excellent.
Just one other bit of information. So from a budget standpoint, we used an estimated total project cost of $90,000. So the match of ours would have been $45,000. So we're slightly under that as well. So,
Good question. The This is good that they're going to dig into our operations and look at things. I'm curious with the sustainable PA certification, that's a lot of that is operations based. It's not sustainability green stuff. It's
Sure.
sustainable practices across the board. I'm wondering if that plays into this at all or not.
Yeah, there may be some interface in terms of operational improvements that they may recommend that would position us to enhance sort of our rating or ranking under that other program. So,
And I do, as part of getting that certification, it's supposed to score us a little higher to get state grants, right?
Yeah.
So this is one that we'd probably want to call that out.
yeah, we can absolutely do that in the application. Yep.
Any other supervisor comments, questions? Any public comments, questions? And I hate to, all right. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor of resolution 24-10, authorizing the submission of PA DCED Strategic Management Planning Program grant, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 5-0. Agenda item 9D.
Okay, so the next item relates to a process that the board had initiated earlier in the year to go to market and request proposals for firms to serve as township solicitor. We received 6 responses to the RFP. There were 4 interviews that were conducted as part of the process. And so coming out of that, the board individually ranked interviewees or were asked to individually rank interviewees. And at this point, the item is ready for the board's consideration.
Here, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Curtin and Hefner LLP to serve as the township solicitor.
I'll second. Any questions, comments?
I'd like to thank everyone who put in a proposal. I think we've got some very good applicants. I think the process was eye-opening to just hear some different views on certain things. I think we have a lot of very good options for firms in the region, and the one we choose for now anyone who is not successful shouldn't take that as a blemish by any means. I think we have some very qualified firms.
So just for clarity of the record, who seconded the motion?
I did.
Okay.
Any other comments? Public comment? Anyone on the line? Okay, with that, call the question. All those in favor of appointing Curtin Hefner as township solicitor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, motion passes 3-2. Item 10.
Yes, I did not actually give a report about the executive session last meeting, but the last meeting, there was an executive session at 6:30. The following items were discussed: personnel, information, and litigation. All members of the board are present at the executive session, along with Mr. Kratzer, myself, and Chief Kaluzzi. That executive session ended just before that meeting started. And then tonight, an executive session started again at 6:30. All board members are present, along with Mr. Kratzer, Chief Kaluzzi, and myself. Informational items, litigation items, and personnel items were discussed. That meeting, executive session concluded at 7:10 before the interview started for the first person tonight. Next is zoning hearing board, number 11. There's one item for the board's consideration, and that is appeal number Z-24-7, Giannotti for the property located at 694 Countess Drive, tax parcel 20-037-030. Applicant requests a variance from Township Zoning Ordinance 200-23B, which would increase the impervious surface from the existing 23.7% to 25.1%, where 18% is the allowable amount in order to install a fiberglass pool and pool decking. We recommend participation, so a vote would be required.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
There are no items, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor's report. I don't have a supervisor's report. My producer told me to get the mic closer and turn it on, so sorry about that. I don't have one. Supervisor Grenier?
Yeah, the only one, couple items came out of recent zoning hearing board meetings. There's been some not necessarily requests, but some discussion around updating our public notice requirements specific to the zoning hearing board. If board members recall, several years ago now, we updated our saldo public notice requirements to be pretty robust, but it didn't carry over to the zoning issues. So there's been some discussion about, I believe right now, and Dave, correct me if I'm misspeak on this, please. Per MPC, the municipality's planning code, the requirement is at minimum for a budding landowner. So if someone lived across the street, they're not a budding,
Mhm.
so they wouldn't get a notice, which just doesn't seem right to me anyway, and some other folks. So, there's been some discussion about how we might go about improving that so that people are guaranteed notice. I know the township staff on particular items, they're not limited to just the budding, that's the minimum. So in some cases, there will be additional notice provided, as I understand it. But that's on a case-by-case basis, so we just want to try and get it a little more consistent, I guess.
Yeah, so if the, general direction of the board is to look at that issue and come back with some recommendation or consistency between the two ordinances, we're happy to do that.
I would think, yeah, I mean, certainly we can take that as a follow-up item for potential board action in the future, although could we do policy, at least in the interim, that says, hey, we'll do more notifications or a wider radius?
Yeah, you probably can do that. I actually think the language in the ordinance right now does reference sort of rules of the board. Now, I don't know if I'm assuming that might be the zoning hearing board rules. So even existing, I just looked at it quickly. So we may be okay to just sort of expand it without modifying the ordinance. If you could just let us look into that, we can get back to you and report back on that.
Yeah. That's the only item I have to. Thank you.
Supervisor Ross?
No report.
Supervisor Blondie?
No report.
Supervisor McCartney?
Nothing to report.
On to agenda item 14, other business. Is there any other business? Hearing none. Moving on to agenda item 15.
Can I just do it?
Yeah, go for
I'd
it.
like to make a motion to appoint Jennifer Stark to the Patterson Farm Master Plan Implementation Committee.
I'll second that.
Can we do them both at once?
Oh, wait, you want to do them all? I'll amend the motion to also include the appointment of Abby Yates to the Disability Advisory Board.
Who was the second?
You were.
I'll second that as well. Okay. With that, any board comment? No public comment? I'll call the question. All those in favor of appointing Abby Yates to the Disability Advisory Board and Jennifer Stark to the Patterson Farm Master Plan Implementation Committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, abstained, passes unanimously. So at this time, we have another open slot for additional public comment. So if you haven't, if there's another issue that we haven't covered this evening, if you have public comment, you can come before us. I'm not seeing anybody rushing to the podium. Is there anyone on the phone? Okay. With that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Right.